So whether it's a brand new computer right out of the box or a fresh install of Windows or a machine that hasn't been touched in a while, there are 10 settings that I change on almost every computer that I touch. So even if you have a computer that has really not been optimized at all, you can do one or all of these following settings to make your computer run even better and give you a little bit of peace of mind in case Windows crashes, because it's probably gonna. And I'm going to walk you through each of them, so whether you are a novice or a techie, you can follow along no problem. So again, these settings that I change are not only to optimize your computer, but also to give you more peace of mind in case Windows finally decides to go belly up. Now these settings are ideal for novice users, and I'm going to walk you through each step along the way and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing as I'm doing it. And again, these are completely optional. You can do one or all of them, or just a handful of them. But in my opinion, these are the 10 things that every Windows user should do if you want to create a more enjoyable Windows experience. Now, there is a very specific reason I do these in a very specific order, and if you watch the video all the way through, I'll explain those to you, and it'll probably make more sense at the end. Now, some of these videos I have done detailed walkthroughs on before, and I may reference those as a card up above, but I encourage you to watch this entire video so you know the order of progression of all the things that I do. And if there's one particular one that you would like more detailed information on, you can come back to the video and just rewind back to that part and click that card to find out more. So that being said, let's get started with the very first thing that I do, and that's Windows file extensions. By default, Microsoft turns off file extensions. And you might ask, who cares? But it actually does matter. And for some reason, I don't know why they haven't made this change, but it is off by default. And what that means is basically, say, for example, you get a PDF file in your email and you click on it, but you have file extensions turned off. And so when you open that file, you may think that you're opening a PDF file, but you're actually possibly opening a virus. And that's never good. The good news is it's easy to re-enable file extensions in both Windows 10 and 11, and I'll show you how to do both. Okay, so as you can see here in File Explorer, the default is no extensions enabled. And it's super easy to change this. All we have to do is go up to the top of File Explorer and click on View, and then go over to Options. And then when the Options window comes up, you can scroll down and select Hide Extensions for Known File Types. Click Apply, and then click OK. And then now, as you can see, the file extensions are enabled. This one setting alone could keep you from accidentally clicking on a virus. And making this change in Windows 11 is just as easy. You're going to open up your Explorer window. You're going to click the three dots to the right of the word View, and then go to Options. Options box comes up. You uncheck Hide Extensions for Known File Types, click Apply, and OK. That's it. Now, the second step that I always do is really more because Windows will crash. And most people tend to have all of their data on one drive. And usually there's one drive in the computer, and this is going to be your C drive. So when you save everything on this drive, if Windows crashes or you can't get into Windows for whatever reason, you have to be able to access that C drive in order to get your files. And sometimes that's kind of hard. What I like to do is actually take this one drive and basically split it in half. Make one part of the drive your C drive, which is where Windows and all of your programs are installed. And then we take the second part of the drive and make that just storage. So you still have one drive, but it's split into what's called partitions. The C partition is basically the operating system, and the D partition is your personal stuff. Part of the reason I do this is because if all of your stuff is safely stored on this D partition, if you have to wipe Windows, you don't lose anything. You don't have to back up a single file. All of your stuff is stored safely on basically another drive. The C drive, that first partition, just has your Windows and your programs. So you can just easily reinstall Windows and not have to worry about your data. It's super easy to do this, and it doesn't harm your data at all. Let me show you how to do it. So in both Windows 10 and 11, you can just go to your search bar and type Disk Management. You'll see the option to create and format disk partitions. Now, when this window comes up, you're going to see your C drive right here. And if there is free space on that drive, you can right click on it and choose Shrink Volume. And what that will do is that will allow you to create a second partition. So at this point, I usually just split it down the middle, especially if it's a new drive, but you can give it as much space as you want. In this case, I just said 32,000, which is about half. And then now you can see there is a C drive, hasn't been touched. You can see the size of the drive has been reduced, but you have this extra free space now. You can right click on it, choose new simple volume, and then just click next, and just next again all the way through it. And it's going to give you a drive letter, which is most likely going to be the drive after your DVD drive if you have one. So it's probably drive E. Doesn't matter. We'll change it in a second. Go ahead and just follow the steps all the way through this. I name it storage just so I know what it is. And I click next. Now what I'm doing is I'm formatting that secondary piece of the drive, making it a usable extra storage drive. And what we're going to do with it here in a minute is going to be really cool. So you're definitely going to want to watch. Okay, now the drive is formatted, and now you can see you have 2 drives on your system. Both of those are roughly about the same size, but it's still just one drive. Okay, this part is totally optional, but it drives me crazy to have my C drive, then a D for my DVD, and then E for my second drive. I want them both to be next to each other. C, then D, that's one drive, and then a CD or DVD. So as you can see here, I've got C, then D, then E. I don't want that. So just right click on that D drive or whatever the letter is after C, and then just change that drive letter to something else, whatever the next available drive letter is. Then go to the second partition that you created. Now you can change it back to D because you just renamed D something else. Now I can go back and change the DVD drive to whatever I want. And now if you go to File Explorer, you'll see you have your C drive, which is that first partition, and then you have your D drive, which is the storage drive. But again, it's all one drive. But to take advantage of keeping your data on that second partition in case Windows crashes, we got to do one other thing. And this is super fun and super cool. So what we're going to do here is, instead of everything, your documents, pictures, downloads, videos, music, all that stuff being stored on that C drive, we can very easily make the default location that Windows writes that stuff to go to a different drive. And we do that by just simply creating those same folders on that D drive and then moving the data from one drive to the other. So here's how you do it. So what you want to do is go under this PC. You're going to double click on your C drive. Then you're going to go to users, and then whatever folder name matches your logon name. In this case, it's Scott Local. Now, if you look here, you'll see all those folders that I told you about: the desktop, the documents, the downloads, the music, pictures, videos. Okay, that's all stored under what's known as your user profile. Now, we're not changing the Windows profile. Nothing changes as far as when you boot up. All your desktop is there, your documents and pictures and all that, but we're just moving them to a different place. So what we're going to do is pick one of these folders and then simply right click on it and go to Properties. When that Properties window comes up, you're going to see a Location tab. Click on Location and then click Move. Now when that Move window comes up, you're going to go browse to that D drive, that storage drive, and then you're going to simply right click, select New Folder, and then name it whatever that folder is. So if it's documents or desktop or whatever, name it that. Select that folder, and then now you'll see where it says D Desktop. Okay, click Apply. It's going to ask if you want to move that stuff. Just say yes. And now you'll see that desktop folder is no longer listed here. Go through the same process for each of those folders, and then what we're doing is we're just moving everything to another drive. Super easy. And the added benefit is, when Windows crashes, and it probably will, you don't have to touch your D drive, because you can reinstall Windows. You can wipe that entire C partition, reinstall Windows, and then everything's just going to work. You don't lose any data or anything like that. Now, the one caveat to that is, yes, temporarily you are relocating your data outside of the operating system environment, which is great for Windows problems. But if something happens to your physical hard drive, then you would still lose that data. So it's important to back up. And we'll get to that in a minute. It's on the list. By the way, I did make a more detailed walkthrough on how to do this drive split. I'll put that card up here for you if you want to check it out. Now, the next thing on the list is to remove all of the extra crap that comes on your Windows machine, or any programs that you've installed that you don't use anymore. It's just taking up space on your computer, or programs that maybe you didn't realize you installed because you clicked on one thing and it installed 3 other things. We're basically going to try to de-bloat the computer as much as we can by removing unnecessary programs. And just as before, it's super easy to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our settings in Windows, the little gear icon. And in its settings on the left side, you're going to see apps. You click on that and you'll see apps and features. And just click on that. and then you're going to see a list of all the programs that are installed on this computer. Now, some of these may have been preloaded from Microsoft when you bought the machine and you've just had them on there forever. Some of them might be, again, programs you might have accidentally downloaded. And a lot of times what I see is extra printer software from your old HP printer, and now you have a Canon printer, but you don't need that HP software anymore, so this is how you remove it. And it's just a good idea to get rid of programs that aren't necessary. So you just scroll down the list and uninstall anything that is on here. Now, the good news is you can't mess this up. If you uninstall something, that means it has been installed at some point, which means it is available to reinstall at some point. Now, obviously, don't touch the programs that you use on a daily basis. Try and clean up disk space. Go through and remove the stuff that you don't care about, you don't know what it is, and if you're not sure, it's okay to leave it. But the things that you are pretty sure that you won't ever need, like Xbox and things like that, if you don't need those, why are they on the computer? Remove them. This will not only free up space, but also declutter the amount of stuff that's on the computer, and it's a win-win for everybody. And now that you've done this, if you haven't done so already, now you can go and install apps that you want to use. If this is a brand new machine, you might already have all the programs you need, so you don't necessarily need to do this. I would recommend doing this for a new machine. Go ahead and get all the software that you need and get it installed, and then you're ready to go. Now, if you recall, I told you I was doing these things in a very specific order for a very specific reason, because what we wanted to do is get rid of the apps that we don't use, install any apps that you might want. But this next step is to make sure that when the computer boots up, it's not running a bunch of programs that don't need to be running. That process is removing startup apps. And I purposefully did that because after you go and install programs, it's likely to put stuff in your start menu that's going to run every single time the machine loads. And then it's going to seem like a slow computer because it's got to run all these programs. And not every program needs to run at startup. So all you have to do is either right click on your taskbar, or you can go to search type task manager. When this task manager window pulls up, you'll see more details down at the bottom left. Click on that, and now you'll see a startup tab up at the top. When you click on that, that's going to show you all the programs that are running or set to run when Windows boots up. Every time your computer starts up, if these options are enabled, that means they're going to run. So all you have to do is simply right click and disable any of these items that you don't want to run every single time the computer starts. And that's going to make your computer appear a lot faster every time it starts up. Now, one thing that has been the bane of my existence since the very beginning of Windows is, for some reason, Windows does not leave System Restore enabled by default. Now, a lot of people have gone back and forth about System Restore doesn't work and this, that, and the other. And yeah, true, there's a lot of times that the problem you have might be not fixable by System Restore, but a lot of times it does. And if, in my opinion, is if you have something enabled that could possibly help you, doesn't take up hardly any space on your computer, why would you not? And I think Microsoft back in the day left it disabled because hard drives were smaller and disk space was valuable. But nowadays hard drives are so big, there's not any reason in the world to at least set aside a few gigabytes of storage space for those System Restore points. Now, you might be asking, what is System Restore? System Restore basically takes a snapshot of your Windows registry, which is the instruction manual for Windows. And if your registry gets corrupt or something happens that keeps Windows from loading, System Restore can go back and pull from a previous date where something was working. A restore point was created, everything's working, boom. You can roll back to that if something happened. And it's happened to me plenty of times, hundreds and hundreds of times. System Restore just puts it back to the way it was, and boom, hallelujah, everything's working. So again, why not do it?
Today's video is sponsored by Aura. Your odds of winning a lottery jackpot? About 1 in 290 million. But some people still play their favorite numbers every week expecting to win. Your odds of your house burning to the ground? 1 in 3,000. But you pay every year for homeowners insurance just in case. Your odds of having your identity stolen or being a victim of online crime? 1 in 4. Let me say that again so it sinks in. 1 in 4. And even though you spend all this money every year protecting everything else in the world, what are you doing to protect yourself against becoming a victim of online crime or identity theft? Unfortunately, a lot of people don't think about it until it's way too late. And that's where Aura comes in. And myself being a victim of identity theft in the past, trust me, that's a battle you do not want to fight. Data brokers sell your information to spammers and scammers. Your full name, your address, your phone number, health records, your relatives, it's all out there for the picking. We hear all the time about companies getting hacked and data breaches and all of that. AT&T just recently released that 73 million customer records were released on the dark web. And they recommend using strong passwords, monitor your account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from the credit bureaus. But who has time to do all that? I know I don't, but Aura does. Their system shows me which data brokers are trying to sell my data and then automatically submits opt-out requests for me. They also protect me against hackers who are trying to get into my social media, bank accounts, and other personal information. Aura does all of this with just one app. To find out more, sign up for a 2-week free trial at aura.com/askyourcomputerguy and find out for yourself what's really out there with your name on it.
And again, it's super easy to do. Go to your search bar and type System Restore. Click on Create a Restore Point, and you might see here that local disk C is off. You're going to want to click on Configure to turn it on. And all you have to do is select Turn on System Protection and then just allot so much space. I usually tell people 5% of your drive is going to be plenty, unless you want more restore points. But if you have a super large drive, make it 10%. But usually 5% is a pretty good number. And then I click Apply and OK. And now you can see the system protection is on. So System Restore is now enabled. And now you can see that if we click System Restore, it's going to bring up the System Restore window, but there's no restore points. We've got to create one. And assuming that your computer is working good, this will be a good time to create that first restore point. So just click on Create at the bottom and give it a name. In this case, Fresh Install, working great, or Best Tuesday Ever, working great. Once you do that, Windows will create a restore point, making a backup of that registry. And then now when you click on System Restore, you'll get prompted, and look at that. There's your restore point. That one thing alone, which you can do from Windows advanced troubleshooting menus also. If you can't boot into Windows, you can go to System Restore from that and possibly restore whatever's wrong with your computer back to that point, and then everything's working great. It's a few gigabytes of storage space and something that a lot of people don't even realize isn't enabled. And unfortunately, I have worked on too many computers that I could have possibly brought it back to life if System Restore was only enabled. It makes no sense not to do it. Now, you would probably not believe me when I tell you the number of people who have a computer that I work on, and before I wipe it and reinstall Windows or whatever I have to do, I ask them, do you have your stuff backed up? And it's so surprising to me that in this day and age that people forget to back up. And it's pretty understandable. I mean, when your computer's working, you don't think about it. It just takes time, or you don't want to pay for it, or maybe you don't have a flash drive, or hey, everything's working, I don't worry about it. And then all of a sudden, boom, a Windows update crashes your computer, you can't get back in, and your only option is to wipe the computer, and you don't have a backup. What I would definitely recommend is get a flash drive and copy those important files to a flash drive and leave a copy on the computer. Don't move them from the computer to a flash drive. Make a copy. You always want at least 2 copies, preferably. If your computer dies, no big deal. You've got your important stuff. If your flash drive dies, no big deal. Just get another one and copy the files back to the new drive. Always keep a copy of your most important critical data. And I can't tell you how many times I see this every single week, and it just breaks my heart. Don't be one of those people that don't back up. Now, the next item on the list is very similar to backing up your personal files, but it's actually backing up your drivers. And a lot of people don't have any idea what that means. But think of it this way. Every single piece of hardware in your computer, your network adapter, your sound card, your wireless, all the things inside your computer are hardware. And those hardware devices need software to tell them how to operate. And sometimes drivers get damaged or get corrupted. Sometimes you had a driver installed for a piece of hardware, and now you don't have that driver anymore, and if you don't have it backed up, there's no way to reinstall it. If you don't have it backed up, you might be able to find it somewhere, but at some point a manufacturer may stop putting that driver on their website, and then now you're in trouble. So what I always tell people to do, and a lot of people don't even realize that this is a thing, but it's been around forever. But thankfully, there is a program that I recommend. I've used before many times. When it comes to backing up your files, it's 100% free, malware free. It's great. I've been using it forever. And that program is called DRIVERMAX. There'll be a link in the description for you. If you do decide to get it and purchase the program, I do make a little commission off of it, so I do appreciate that. But you don't have to. Not only does this program go and find drivers that you may not be able to find, but the most important thing for me is to be able to back up your drivers. I did make a detailed walkthrough video on that. I'll put a card up above for you, but I'm just going to real quickly show you how easy it is to back up your Windows drivers. Now I'm going to go ahead and run through the setup real quick just so you can see. It just takes a couple minutes. And again, as I said before, you can see I'm a free user, and this is going to show you how easily you can back up your drivers. Okay, so when the program opens, all you have to do is click Backup, and then choose Create a Driver Backup Archive, and then click Next. It's going to scan your computer for all the hardware that's inside the computer, and then also it's going to attach the drivers for that hardware so that you can create a backup. And as you can see here, all the hardware is right there. That's everything under your device manager. You check that box down the bottom left and click Next, and then it's going to go through and it's going to back all of that stuff up for you. When it says backup complete, just click on Open Backup Folder, and you're going to see a zip file with all those hardware drivers. There's everything in your computer. If it's in working condition, you now have a backup for your drivers. Everything that you see in Device Manager right here is right there in that zip file, and it's 100% free. I do this on every computer. And if for some reason you need to reinstall a driver, you can open the program, go back to restore from a previous backup, select that backup, choose the device you want to repair, and then just click restore, and it replaces that broken driver with the good one. Again, a great program, 100% free, and I do this on every single machine without fail. And again, I did make a detailed walkthrough on this if you want to know more, but I would absolutely recommend doing this. Now, the next item on the list is antivirus. Now, this is a topic that you could ask 100 people and you'll get 120 different answers. Some people are perfectly happy with the Windows Defender that's built into Windows. Some people prefer the Norton or the McAfee that came with the computer because they think that because it came with the computer that's what is good for them. Some people catch WebRoot on sale for $9 at Walmart and buy that. What I will tell you is that the Windows Defender that comes with Windows 10, Windows 11, and it's going to come with every version of Windows after that, for most people, it's pretty good. I personally don't recommend relying just on Windows Defender, and sometimes you need to invest in a good antivirus program. If nothing else, it's going to be way cheaper than the cost of repairing it. Now, I did a video not too long ago with a good buddy of mine who is a malware and cybersecurity expert. I'll link that video up here if you want to check it out. The program that we recommend is not free, but it is affordable, and it is 1,000 times better than Windows Defender in almost every category. So definitely check that out, but you need to have antivirus on your computer. Even if it's only Windows Defender, make sure you have something. You'd be surprised how many people have that turned off and no antivirus protection. Now, the next thing on the list, I don't necessarily do for every personal computer because a lot of times it's really kind of unnecessary, but I do occasionally have clients that have data on their computer that if their hard drive died, they would be in a world of hurt. Matter of fact, I'm going to see a guy later today who does court transcriptions for a living. All of his important stuff is stored on that computer. That is his livelihood. And if that hard drive died, he would be in a lot of pain. So the recommendation that I have is called drive cloning. Now, I did make a video about that. I'll link that in the card above. But basically, so you understand what that means, let's just say this is your hard drive in your computer. Yes, you can make file backups, but if you have a lot of configurations, a lot of system settings, a lot of tweaks and all that, things that you have done to customize your computer, if you might have your data backed up, as I recommended earlier. But if your drive crashes, you're going to still have to reinstall Windows, and then you're going to have to reinstall all that stuff, change all those settings, tweaks, and all that stuff. Or what you could simply do is create a clone. Basically, you take your drive and you create an exact duplicate of that drive. You can take your drive out of your computer, take this one, put it in, and it fires right up. All your stuff is exactly where it needs to be. All your printer settings, your drivers, your customizations, all of that stuff. Everything is an identical copy.
Identical.
This one and this one are twins. That's the easiest way I can explain a drive clone. And really, it's only going to cost you an extra drive, which are super cheap right now, and maybe a drive reader if you need one. Again, I made that video about how to clone and using a program called Macrium Free, 100% free, works beautifully. And one of the things that you need to note, and I see this in my comments about that video, is sometimes they try to run this drive clone when the drive starts failing. And that's not when you want to run it, because I understand the concept of, oh my gosh, my drive is about to die, I need to make a duplicate of it. But once your drive starts failing, generally cloning isn't going to work. It's going to recognize that the drive is bad and it's not going to duplicate it. You want to clone your drive when everything is working, so that when it stops working, no big deal. You take your clone drive, you pop it in, and boom, you go buy another drive and clone that, and you will always have a backup copy. I keep a clone drive of my working computer in an electrostatic bag in my safe, that if my computer crashed, I could go grab that drive, plug it in the computer, and fires right up. It's well worth it, and you should at least check it out to see if it's something that might benefit you. Now, the very last thing that I recommend, and I've done this many times over the years for clients, is to create what's known as a Windows installer disk. If you have Windows 10, after October, you will not be able to download the Windows installer, which means if your Windows crashes, you are going to have to pay somebody who has the Windows media to reinstall Windows. But if you download and create the media installer tool using just a flash drive and a free download from Microsoft, you can boot your computer to this flash drive, and then all you have to do is follow the steps, reinstall Windows. If you have Windows 11, that Windows Media installer will be on the Microsoft website probably for the next 5 years or so. But if your computer can't boot, you can't get to the internet to go and download and create it. So all you need is a blank flash drive, 8 gigabytes or larger. I'll put a link in the description if you want to have one shipped right to your door. And probably because this is one of the most important things that you can do to make sure that you have the peace of mind to reinstall Windows if necessary, I made a whole video about it, and you can check it out right up here. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.